There's been a little bit of a back and forth this week between Florida Atlantic, USF, the fans, but also representatives of the program. And I did some research on USF in particular when it comes to this. But let me give you a little bit of background. And anything that happened this week, I needed to be abundantly clear that this was all started by Alex Golesh, the head coach of USF. Back in December 20th to be exact, at the Boca Raton Bowl luncheon where USF was preparing to play Syracuse, Alex Golesh stepped up to the podium at that luncheon in West Palm Beach, and he said the following, quote, "It must be nice for a team in Boca to be practicing in December," end quote. That a shot at Florida Atlantic winning 4 games, not becoming bowl eligible, and the season coming to an end. Now, I get it. It's all gamesmanship. It's all fair. Florida Atlantic didn't make a bowl game. Here, however, is the context that is severely needed. Because that quote, that Alex Golesh shot at Florida Atlantic took place not even 2 months after FAU on USF's homecoming went into Raymond James Stadium and not only beat USF, but handled USF, embarrassed USF, humiliated USF, stomped USF to the tune of 56-14. In fact, for most FAU fans, that quote from Alex Golesh, that was the first time they even thought of the USF head coach since they saw him looking shell-shocked and stunned and despondent on the sideline after FAU converted an onside kick up 56-14 in that game in Tampa. So it was certainly surprising that the same Alex Golesh, whose team got throttled by 42 points on its home field on homecoming by Florida Atlantic not even 2 months prior, was then throwing shade at Florida Atlantic. Now, that brings us to what took place this week. And this week, USF had its official visit, and they ended up trying to capitalize on the new trend in college football, which is to rent out expensive European sports cars and line them up and impress the young masses who they're trying to sway to commit to USF. It was Lamborghinis, the automobile of choice for USF this past weekend, and they lined them up on a Raymond James field that the turf didn't look great, a lot of dead grass all over the place. But Raymond James Stadium, dead grass and all, had Lamborghinis lined up, a couple of rows of them. And by all accounts, it was a productive official visit weekend for Alex Golesh and USF. And congratulations to them. Now, Matt Smidebush, who is for Florida Atlantic, he serves a variety of duties, but he has been with Tom Herman for a long, long time. These two go back, and Matt came to Florida Atlantic with Tom Herman after they were together at Texas, and he is the chief of staff for FAU football. And he simply used 2 emojis over a photo of the dead baked grass with the Lamborghinis on top of it. And he put a lipstick emoji and a pig emoji. Otherwise, lipstick on a pig. That's what he was going for. That friendly banter. Whatever. Go back and forth. Just a little bit of friendly banter. Hey. That's what you do when you're rivals, right? FAU and USF, no matter how much USF wants to try and little brother FAU, that's what happens when it's a rivalry. Well, that was not received well by a man named Alex Fagan, who's the director of scouting for USF football. And he tweeted at Matt Smidebush, "Never got to say thank you for letting us use your erector set of a stadium back in December since y'all had the month off." That a tweet from Alex Fagan. Hey, USF is riding high. They went from one of the worst teams in the country to becoming bowl eligible last year, finished above 500 at 7-6 after a big 45-0 bowl win over Syracuse. But there's been a ton of hype about USF. They have the top recruiting class in the American coming into this year. That's certainly a positive. You have a podcast from The Athletic that is listing them as maybe one of the biggest sleepers in college football this year when they end up playing Miami. USF takes on Miami, a sleeper that maybe, just maybe, they could beat the Canes. It's incredible. There is a lot of hype around this USF team, but it got me thinking, where exactly is all this hype coming from? Because a lot of teams go 6-6 in the regular season, win a bowl game. They feel pretty good about themselves. But USF, for some reason, like, they're getting a massive, massive push. So I decided to look at the 2023 USF season to see what I'm missing. What is making them suddenly a bottom feeder to making a bowl game, to a potential juggernaut, a burgeoning juggernaut in college football. USF last year went 7-6. Okay. Their wins in conference: Charlotte, Rice, Navy, Temple. Let me tell you in order the win totals for those 4 wins in conference last year. Charlotte finished with 3 victories. Rice finished with 6 victories. Navy finished with 5 wins. Temple had 3 triumphs in 2023. Then if you go non-conference, there was a loss to Alabama. No shame there. But played UConn and won as well. And then they had a win over FAMU from an FCS perspective. But the 5 wins in the FBS, Charlotte, Rice, Navy, Temple, UConn, we're talking 3 wins, 6 wins, 5 wins, 3 wins, 3 wins. So the average wins for FBS opponents that USF beat last year was 4. So the average wins for the FBS teams that USF beat last season would not be bowl eligible. And keep in mind, USF at home lost to a 4-win team in Florida Atlantic, 56-14. Okay. So I think there's a little context that's needed before we start elevating USF to the group of 5 participant in the college football playoff, because there's been some whispering that maybe they could do that. Maybe they could be there. Then there's the strength of schedule. This, according to the Massey ratings, that I find to be extremely accurate, that I find to be extremely unbiased. Strength of schedule in 2023, 7 wins for USF. Okay. The strength of schedule in Division I for USF, 109th, second to last in the entire American Athletic Conference, only ahead of Temple. So again, USF took care of the business it had to take care of. It got the 6 regular season wins. It got 4 wins in conference. It beat UConn. All I'm saying is that USF had an easier path than other teams to bowl eligibility. Again, 109th in FBS football strength of schedule, according to the Massey ratings. And that's 109th after having Alabama top 3 in the Massey ratings on your schedule, which ballooned it up to that 109. And again, a reminder, Florida Atlantic 56, USF 14. Then there was the Boca Raton Bowl. And I think a lot of this momentum is coming off of what USF did to Syracuse at the Boca Bowl. It was a thrashing. It was a domination. It was 45-0. National television, USF able to celebrate and ride off into the sunset of its most successful season in quite some time. But again, more context is needed. Syracuse, their quarterback, was wearing the number 89. Why? Because Syracuse, due to injuries and with an interim head coach, had to play a tight end at quarterback in Dan Villari. Villari struggled massively. 11 passes, 55 yards, 2 interceptions because he's a tight end. And then the third-string quarterback, Braden Davis, got some run as well, but the game was long gone at that point. So again, congratulations on the bowl win, but when we're talking USF, not only did they have one of the easiest schedules in the country, they also had maybe the easiest bowl opponent in a 2-conference win, Syracuse, in the postseason. Now, there's going to be a lot of, well, look at what USF has done on the recruiting trail. Number one recruiting class in 2024. And that's accurate. According to 247, that is accurate. And it is extremely well done. And there's a lot of momentum there on the recruiting trail with USF. That said, only 3 times in the AAC championship game era, this goes back to 2015, has a team that had the top recruiting class in the American actually won the league title. Only 3 times it's happened. Cincinnati in 2020 and 2021, and UCF and their quote-unquote national championship season in 2017. Only 3 times since 2015 has a team with the top recruiting class gone on to win the American Athletic Conference Championship, including 2015 when USF finished with the number 1 recruiting class. Guess who won the American that year? Houston, and now FAU head coach Tom Herman. So all I'm saying is that there is certainly a lot of buzz, a lot of hype around USF, and we're trash talking and we're going back and forth. But USF, sure, they had a successful season last year, and it was more successful than Florida Atlantic. Absolutely, we'll concede that. But we also need to maybe pump the brakes a little bit about the upcoming golden era of USF football, because USF football benefited from a wildly easy schedule a year ago, a wildly easy bowl opponent a year ago, and again, FAU 56, USF 14. And to me, this is just me talking. Just me, Ken Levicka, just someone with an opinion. If I lost to a team 56-14, I'd probably keep a little bit of a low profile before stepping to the podium at a bowl luncheon and taking a shot at the team that whipped me on my home field. And a scouting director who was going to take a shot at the FAU stadium that FAU was nice enough to open up to USF just a couple of years ago because of a hurricane to play a game there. Just keeping in mind a game against East Carolina, but also erector set. One, that's going to be the new nickname for FAU Stadium. So thank you, the erector set, just like the bounce house there in Orlando, which also looks just like FAU Stadium erector set, and it's one of the best home field advantages in the entire country. Oh, but you see the steel beams. Who cares? Who cares? And it's weird because USF is going to break ground in the fall on a new stadium, and I looked at the plans for it, the renderings of it, and guess what I saw on the USF stadium renderings? Oh, steel beams like an erector set. Weird. So all I'm saying is that when these two teams tangle Friday night during the course of the 2024 campaign in Boca Raton, it's going to be a whole lot of fun. And I just think everybody needed a little context on the greatness of USF's 2023 football